What is up, everybody? I'm Chronik Spartan, and welcome to the Geeky N8 Show. Let's get geeky.
Hey all, welcome to this fun little Halloween episode. Today we have Dante with us of GNEmbassy. We're going to be talking about horror films, a whole bunch of aspects of them. So let's just bring on Dante right now. Hey Dante, how are you today?
Hello, good, doing well.
Good,
I'm excited
good.
to talk about some horror movies.
Oh, it's going to be good.
Well, absolute favorite films. Oh man, the list is like surprisingly long. But I think if I'm gonna have to nail down my top three, let's go top three. It's gotta be Get Out,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
and then Mama.
Have not seen that one.
Oh, highly recommend. Guillermo del Toro at his best. And then Oculus.
Oculus. Okay.
Oculus with Karen Gillan,
Oh.
directed by Mike Flanagan. Yeah, so
Okay, so you
good.
just fired two that I didn't even have a clue about. This is the joy. So for the last sort of decade, while horror films have been coming out, I have not really been watching them because the lovely other half it does not like horror films, and it's only recently that slowly I've noticed. Hang on, I've got some friends that actually do like horror films now, and we can go and work stuff out and and whatnot. So annoyingly, I missed out on Nope, so I'm waiting for that to come on to streaming services. But yeah, Get Out was awesome. So for me, I guess mine go kind of more classic with Alien. Director's cut has to be the director's
fabulous.
cut. I watched that when I definitely was too young to watch horror films. And yet somehow that did not impact me as much as it probably should have done at that age. Then I would say Lost Boys. Lost Boys is one that I do enjoy watching.
Okay.
And Dracula, but it has to be Bela Lugosi performing as Dracula.
Bela Lugosi. Okay. Cool.
There's just something about that performance which it's probably the best Dracula there has been and ever will be, but I guess that's up for debate, but that's my opinion.
This is good. This is good because most of my horror stuff, the stuff that I really like and the stuff that I've seen, is from 2010 forward.
Right.
I haven't seen a lot of older horror movies, although I did watch Alien, and that movie is straight up classic.
Go on.
It's just very well made, so well made. Yeah.
I do like the whole Alien series. But I think Aliens, so not Alien, but Aliens, the sequel, is probably the better of the lot. Everything else from there just sort of feels like we're doing it for money, rather than story. And then Predator versus Alien and all of that is just a whole other kettle of fish. the video game, great. The film, let's just pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay, fair enough. I watched half of Aliens, and I couldn't get into it. I just missed the slow burn, quiet nature of the first film. I really appreciate that in a good horror movie, building suspense, and then just the idea that you never really know when people are going to get attacked or die, and it's just very, very quiet. Cinematically gorgeous too. The lighting and everything in it is just fantastic.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I think one of my rules for a good horror film, if you're not going for heavy character development, great story, and you're just going for the classic here's a monster killing people jobby, is don't reveal the monster straight away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have the deaths be a surprise and a shock and catch you off guard, and sort of just build up the suspense and the tension. In fact, my favorite of those sort of like classic monster films is the ones that never reveal the monster. You never know what was hunting them down, because that leaves you with that psychological disposition of what was that? What is going on? I don't know. I will never know. And that's so much better. I guess that brings us to the second question, right?
For me, a thing that makes a really good horror movie, I think there are a few things, but one of them is audio. Oh my god, I'm just now remembering. I've forgotten one of my absolute favorite horror movies. Dark Skies. It's an alien horror movie. It is the best alien horror movie I've seen in the modern era. So,
Right.
Yeah, highly recommend that one. Anyway, sound. Sound's a really big deal. When horror movies start to debut, the horror noise is what I call it. Is that low sub bass tone that you can like feel in your like sternum when it happens. That sound is so visceral that it just makes the experience more tangible. It's just really, really good. And using that and contrasting it with high-pitched, intense sounds makes for this really good and very unsettling like state to be in. You feel like you're being pulled one way or the other. The sound is really visceral and jarring sometimes when they switch from one to the other. And I think that makes drives up the suspense and the like just the guttural nature of horror in general. So I think audio is something you have to nail.
Oh, absolutely. I can't disagree with that. I think, I mean, that's just generally a problem I have in most life is audio quality being good, like clear, crisp, knowing how it plays with emotions. All of that is so important. So yeah, hands down, getting that right. If a film has got fuzzy audio, which thankfully is rare these days, but it can happen. That's it. That's the film spoiled for me, no matter how good everything else is. So yeah, absolutely agree with that. I guess for me, the other part that I pay a lot of attention to is the framing, the way that they actually capture the shots. That's something that I really enjoy paying attention to. And when I come across a new director who has a completely new style to it and the way that they use it, sometimes it can be jarring and just mess the whole thing up. Sometimes though, it really just does it right. It does it justice, like knowing on how to capture that. Interestingly, thinking about that, I think a lot of Japanese horror do that part really well. I
agree.
Yeah. And yeah, I think in general the whole part, if you want to get a really good horror film, you need to be continually building the suspense and that atmosphere, however you're doing it, be it the sound, be it the lighting, be it the way you're framing the scenes. And I think that counts across all the genres as well. That we've got various genres now covered in horror, but for it to be a horror, I think that still has to be a core driving aspect, even if you're making it a comedy or a romance. That is what makes it a horror.
I agree, and you can sort of get away with more or less of that atmosphere based on the genre you're in, right? So if we're looking at like Shaun of the Dead, for example, we have a much shorter suspenseful build-up, and then the movie kicks into high gear and it's laughs going forward. Whereas if we're looking at something that's more dramatic, we've got a really long, slow burn, and then the last half an hour is very intense. So
absolutely, I would say with something like Shaun of the Dead, what they seem to do is build and drop the suspense throughout. So like when they're in the pub scene, and all the zombies are there ready to break in and all the rest of it, that rebuilds that suspense that we dropped earlier for the comedy instead. And I find it again, it's the same when with doing the romance. What I find interesting is you can use that suspense to lead to more romance. Which is an interesting part. Although sometimes it's just completely ignored.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think what you get is a more of a interpersonal tension there instead of environmental tension. So in The Shape of Water, it's the like, will they, won't they, what can they actually be sort of thing, versus in something like The Ring, the tension is created by an external force, being the videotape and what's on the videotape, and that sort of killing people. So
yes, yeah, exactly. So I guess this brings us nicely into the final question for this episode. We know we've got horror romance, we've got horror comedies, we've got the horror dramas. We've just had, basically a bunch of sort of horror action or horror superhero. And I guess technically with the latest of the Netflix zombie movies, we also got Horror Heist.
yeah.
Which is just a brilliant film.
I haven't seen that yet, but that sounds really great. I love heist movies and I love horror movies, so
I recommend it. It's got everything that you would want from both genres there. So
awesome.
Yeah, although I can't remember the name of it right now, which is just bugging me. Was it Army of the Dead? I think it was something like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. And they've got they also released a prequel film for one of the characters, and it sounds like they're going to be doing more around that series. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that we've gotten, oh man, like you said, we've got superheroes, romance and comedy and drama. So my preferred genre of horror, my very favorite genre of horror, even though there aren't very many of them in my top 10, I love found footage horror. And every time I find a new found footage horror movie that does something different, I'm super excited. The first horror movie I ever watched, knowing it was a horror movie in 2012, was Grave Encounters. And it's basically just a group of ghost hunters go into an asylum and bad things happen to them.
Right.
The whole setup is that some producer finds the tape of them doing this. And I would love to see more found footage horror films cross into the genres we've listed. For example, there's a found footage film called Chronicle that is a superhero horror film. It came out before Brightburn, but it's found footage. And the idea is that these kids are in the woods and they find a pit with something weird in it, and they touch the weird thing, and then they get superpowers, and it all goes from there. Michael B. Jordan's in it. Fantastic. Highly recommend it.
I feel like I've seen that one. But I'd have to double check. Yeah, you know what? Found footage horror is something that I quite like. So, Blair Witch was a big one when that came out for me.
Fun fact: haven't seen that movie.
Really?
Yep,
okay.
Haven't seen it. I wasn't into horror when it came out, and it just fell between the cracks.
Fair enough. I watched it again last year, and I have to say, while the concept in that holds up, the actual film itself is nowhere near as scary as it felt back then when I watched it originally, sure. and all the rest of it. So, but then Paranormal Activity was another one that I watched, and that did a pretty good job at first, and then I was like, hang on a second, it's not real footage.
Yeah.
Brain, please just stop. Yeah,
that was the second one I ever saw, and I was not used to them. And that actually, I watched that, and I was up for 2 days straight. It scared the crap out of me. It was awesome and terrible all at the same time. I like to talk about that movie because it had a budget of $15,000 and made millions.
Wow, that is good. But again, that's kind of it. Like, there's a lot of low budget horror movies that I love way more done the big budget stuff. And it's
That's
just because when they're running on that low budget, there's so much more that they've got to do. There's a few indie ones. So London gets a horror movie festival every year. And this is probably 7 years ago. Our dog got to feature in one. It was a werewolf one, but it was the whole point of the film was who is the werewolf.
Oh, sure.
You never find out. There's a very strong hint that the most obvious person is the one who has our dog as their pet dog, but it's only hinted at but never confirmed, and it was good. It was really good, and that stuff. I like that stuff where the monster's not caught. Yeah. Especially if they ground it with so much reality. So that you're left going, could that happen?
Right.
And that, because that just adds to that feeling when you leave the cinema then going, oh crap.
Oh crap. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, so I can't disagree. I love those things. But I think Jordan Peele, is it Peele?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jordan Peele.
The stuff that he's doing right now, like, I don't know how, but every single one of his films feels like it's completely redefining the style of horror.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of... It feels like there's a lot of realism interwoven into everything that he's doing.
I agree. Yep.
And yeah, so right now I can't get enough of his stuff, which is why I'm so annoyed missing Nope. So,
it was good.
Hands down, I can't wait for whatever he comes out with next. But yeah, I guess for me, I love monster movies. So, monster movies is what I want to see more of.
Yeah.
But I know you haven't seen it yet, but you will. I think you will enjoy Werewolf by Night. But that does something completely new for monster movies.
Awesome.
And I was really pleased with that. Really pleased. And I know technically it's a superhero film in aspect because it's part of the MCU. But technically, everybody involved is just your classic horror establishment. And that was nice to see. So I'm kind of hoping, I guess part of me is hoping to see an annual Halloween Marvel special because in the comics, you got the Legion of Monsters.
Yeah.
And we can now work on this over the next several years of Halloweens, establishing those. So that I would love to see next year The Living Mummy as a movie. And just introduce them and, get that part built up. And then, I don't know, at the end in a post-credit, have them join up with other parts of the Legion as we just, build it up. And then maybe have them all cameo in Blade.
Yeah. So I don't know if if you're familiar with the trade paperback, Not My Captain America, where Falcon debuts as Cap.
I am not. I have not actually. So I know of, but haven't read.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the back half of that book, where Cap is back and Falcon is a werewolf. And I would love to see that happen on the big screen. I think that'd be hilarious. Anthony Mackie playing like Werewolf Captain America, just being like, what the heck is this? And one of the funny things about it is he's treated better as a werewolf than he is as a black Captain America, which is, a theme that actually was also in The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt was also, that theme was there too. So I think that'd be really fun to see.
That could be quite fun to see. Yeah, hands down. The other one is I'm absolutely up for any monster movie that changes the monster lore. Yeah. So like if you're going to do a modern zombie movie, it can't be your classic virus jobby. I just don't think that works anymore because once that body is dead and it's decaying, you just have to wait it out.
Yep.
hit winter, I'm sorry, they're all frozen. They're not going to do anything. They're blood. They don't have any blood properly pumping. They're useless. In the summer, flies and all of that, the maggots are just going to erode them quite reasonably fast. Again, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't work. But like, say, was it 300 days later? No, 28 days later. 28 days later.
28. Yeah.
That was a better change to the zombie concept. You know, they're all alive, just they're
aggressive and
you sort of just change the way that they think and respond and so on and so forth. That I can handle. I think that's fine. Seeing that kind of change, or But yeah, that's me. I like the Gothic monster collections. So
that's like a little bit outside of. I don't really like Gothic horror very much. I'm sort of like tired. So in the early 2000s, the whole vampire versus werewolf thing was crazy.
God,
Underworld,
yes,
and all that stuff. I can't. It was too much. I got really tired of it. And like the edgy nature of like vampires and werewolves really bothers me. They're not scary anymore because they're just whiny.
Yeah. You know, I'm fine to have no more vampire or werewolf stuff because I think they're overdone. But the other collection of Gothic monsters that have just been forgotten about, you know, so you're rewriting zombies, which we are kind of getting with Army of the Dead, or
in the Last of Us TV show, and games, they're cordyceps fungus zombies, and I love that. That's great.
Yeah, so that should be quite good. Then I think you've got your where's my brain going? Invisible Man. I'd be up for seeing some like change to that concept, or your changeling sort of horror, like Body Snatchers and that. I think rewriting that concept could be really, really cool. As just a general horror film where you're watching it and you're going, hang on a second. So this is just all about the ease of swapping out people, and you don't know if they are who you think they are, because maybe they've been able to keep all the memories and can completely and utterly perfectly impersonate them, but can't override their desire to feed and create new host bodies. That stuff, I think that stuff could be really cool. Or monsters that make you forget that they exist. That kind of thing, where it's living in your house and it's feeding on your emotions and that's changing your personality and changing your behaviors. But every time you see it, you instantly forget that it's there. So you never know. Yeah. Basically,
silence. I love the silence.
It's a perfect concept. I mean, Doctor Who has
Angels, also amazing.
Oh God,
all
yes.
Good stuff. Yeah.
That minor desire to basically create a statue costume just so you can sneak up on people and scare them at cons.
So there's an Irish film called The Hollow. And have you seen that one?
I have not.
Okay. It's one of the only horror films I've seen that sort of uses a classic creature but steps outside of what we would be used to. It's fairies. So like the couple just had a new baby. They move into a big house. The guy is like an environmental surveyor, and he's there trying to figure out what's going on with the trees so that this logging company can justify cutting them down or whatever. So they move into this house, and the very first thing that happens is the wife is like, why are there iron bars in all these windows? And they take them down.
No. No.
The whole other thing is like classic Celtic like fairy lore, and they're trying to protect their baby and all these things. I highly recommend that film. One of my favorite movies. But it's one of the only horror movies that has been made in the recent decade that has its fairies. are the scary thing. I need more scary fairy movies.
You know what?
Like,
I support that because at the end of the day, especially Celtic mythology around Fae, yeah, I mean, actually, just generally across the UK, we have so much Fae tales which they're not good. They're not good creatures. No, they're tricksters. They're out for profiting themselves. Heck, if you do it right, you can use them as a nice pseudonym for the 1%ers.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess actually that's another one. I do like horror films that are in themselves making a political statement as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, when you switch it out to, you know, point out other factors that are going on in society, I think that's quite a cool way of doing it because it leaves you noticing and questioning.
There was this one movie that came out in like the mid 2000s, or I guess it was more like 2010, and it was logos and stuff from like fast food chains and stuff were like creatures, or they were like affecting our brains somehow.
Okay.
I don't remember what the hell it's called because it was like a big deal. It's not Viral. That's a different movie.
A few moments later.
Oh wow, there are a bunch of like really crappy like B-movie fast food horror movies, I guess.
Actually, going back to B-movie horror, I would love for there to be an attempt to do an actual decent Silent Hill movie and a Alone in the Dark, because those two films sucked. Really sucked, and those are game series that could be so good. Yeah. So
well, Silent Hill has a special place in my heart. The game series is one of my favorite, and the movies, like you said, didn't really live up to them, even though I love them. They're not really Silent Hill films, you know.
No,
it doesn't feel right.
I mean, I don't understand why they had to do the film that they did, because all you needed was just to have somebody driving along a highway and somehow end up in Silent Hill and be like, where the fuck am I? This isn't on the road map. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. Then realize trying to leave, they can't leave. They go through the fog and they're just back on the road, and have all that just build up and just go, okay, where the hell am I? What the hell's going on? And, you know, just lead them through just a standard Silent Hill survival horror movie. It would work. And heck, it doesn't have to be any of the game stories. Just take the game lore and intertwine it, and you can just you could run it. I mean, it probably would actually work better as a TV series, if I'm honest. I think
that's totally fair. Slow burn, like unveil like what weird is going on over the course of the whatever, and then finally in the 12th episode or whatever, you get the protagonist being chased down by Pyramid Head or some nonsense, and realizing that they need to atone for some sin that they've done, and you get their glimpses from their past, and either they die and make it out of Silent Hill to live again, to, you know, or whatever, or, you know,
Yeah, or they don't. Exactly. I don't. I kind of am fine with a series ending with basically the protagonist not getting out.
Yeah.
Like. Yep. That's the other thing. I don't need every single one of these movies to result in the protagonist surviving or escaping or winning.
No.
I don't need that. I'm down for them failing miserably and that just being it.
Sometimes you can't beat the supernatural thing.
Yeah.
You just can't. Sometimes it's more powerful than. That's why I like Paranormal Activity, because sometimes you just like literally can't beat the thing. It is smarter than you. It's, you know, stronger than you. You just like can't win, and you can try as hard as you want, but sometimes you just lose.
Yeah. The other one that I like is when the movie completely switches it around to be like, actually, all along it was you that were the monsters.
Yeah. And that's something that was missing from the Silent Hill stuff. Like, there's a line from Father Vincent in the game where he's like, they look like monsters to you. And then we find out later that they're essentially souls that are trapped in Silent Hill that have been changed by the atmosphere. And I think there should be more of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That movie I was thinking of is called Branded. Branded. It came out in 2012.
Okay. I will have to look that up. Always happy to build up my list of things to watch. But yeah, actually, before we wrap up, we're running a bit over. But before we wrap up, talking about the found footage films of horror, Cloverfield.
Oh yeah, top notch.
The only issue I had with Cloverfield was in revealing the monster at the end.
Yep, there it is. This is the only reason that anything. It's the only bad thing I can say about that movie.
Yeah,
is that they should have just kept it off the radar. We didn't need to see it. It's cool to see like little tiny bits and pieces. Like there's a shot where you're like overhead and you can kind of see its tail like whip into the scene. I think that was great. It's just a little bit of a part.
Yeah, exactly. Or even when they were down underground and it's like spawn basically bursts out to chase them. That's fine. That's
great.
But the actual big monster never needed to be revealed.
Nope.
Especially since what they did reveal was a pile of crap. Yeah. Okay, I think that's a good point to end it on. Unless there's anything else you wanna cover.
No, I mean maybe we should put together like a list of movies that we think that people should watch and like throw it in the description or something.
Absolutely, actually, 100%. So for everybody watching at home, in the description there will be a list of let's say our top 10 films that we think you should all watch. So there'll be 20 films listed. Unless we've got overlap. And then in the comments below, let us know your answers to the questions that we were going through. So, what's your favourite horror film or top 3 horror films? What's your favourite genre or a genre that you would like to see? And what do you think makes a horror movie a horror movie? What are those essential key points? Put them all down in the comments below. We will be there to interact and reply. And I guess until next time, keep it geeky.